Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Ozzy, here once again with my co host, Mad Matt.
Drago!
Today, we're going to be talking about. Would you consider this a cult classic?
Oh yeah, this is definitely a cult classic.
The cult classic Hawk the Slayer. Not to be confused with Hawk the Tua. Sorry, I had to make a modern internet reference somehow. Um, you're the one that
Yeah,
suggested this movie. Like, how did you even come across this thing?
to say that the word of mouth on this thing has not been spreading is a giant lie. Simon Pegg has mentioned this movie in a couple of his films. Um, the reason I found out about it is because I think my old D&D group back in Madison mentioned it, and sure enough, they also knew the rental place I went to, and they said, "Oh yeah, they got a copy." That's how I watched it.
Old
Uh,
VHS.
no, this is like 2003, 2004, so they were
Oh,
renting out DVDs.
okay.
Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same case as that DVD was in, so yay, I have my own copy now.
Man, I miss Family Video now.
I miss the good old days. You rent a movie and you get almost an entire week to watch it, and maybe even a couple extra ones.
Well, I mean, Family Video was still around until like 2022, so I was actually renting stuff with them until they went out of business a couple years ago.
Well, I was able to rent from this place until I left Madison like '09, so had rental place a little bit longer.
So you want to handle the usual synopsis?
Alrighty. So the basic synopsis for this film, we have a little bit of setup beforehand, but I'll get back to the pre-setup. Essentially, we start the main plot with a injured man going through the woods. He collapses off his horse and goes up to a small church. Once he gets into this church, they are able to help save his arm, but not able to restore his hand, which was already missing fingers. Once the man had recovered enough to actually speak, he was talking with the abbess and was able to figure out what was going on and relay that he was attacked by a man known as Voltan. This man has been laying waste to the countryside for some time and has other connections to main characters to come forth in a moment. So when Voltan shows up, he decides to kidnap the abbess, um, injures the man further with a throwing knife, and once he has recovered, is decided that he needs to go to the fortress where they were told to go to in the first place to get gold for him. Um, the holy fortress that is where this religion supposedly is based from. And they tell him straight up, "Yeah, we can't keep doing that. We'll just keep losing money, and we'll not be able to defend ourselves." So they decide to send the man off to find Hawk. Hawk is the brother of Voltan. In pretty much the same day, Voltan both murdered his wife as well as their shared father. And Hawk managed to get the power of the Mind Stone to work with a great blade of their family, and therefore taking the power that Voltan believed was supposed to be meant for him because he's the eldest. Hawk has been basically venturing around trying to find his brother, but also trying to make good on dealing with evil forces throughout the countryside. And now, with the help of the one-handed man, he's able to gather up his old previous friends: a elf named Crow, a dwarf named Dolan, and I'm trying to remember what the giant's name was.
It was Gort.
Gort. Baldwin and Gort and Crow. Sorry, I'm also dealing with dripping of sciences. But he's able to get the crew together, and they make some plans to first steal the gold they need from slavers in order to pay the ransom. But when they are afraid that maybe Jack Balance's character Voltan won't come through with the plan to release the abbess, They make plans to eliminate more and more of his men to help make a possible future attack more one-sided and closer to comprehensible. They have several confrontations, the last of which, just beforehand, they suffered the loss of the dwarf because he tricked Voltan into getting injured due to his face injury that was caused by Hawk's wife, and possibly religiously based because he was also getting blinded by the cross that she bore. And after he comes back from the wizard to heal his eye again, he has to finally have his one-on-one with Hawk, to which he finally loses. The pair are sent off with the goal to take it back to the fortress, and as they leave, they learn from the sorceress that there's a gathering of wizards going on to the south, where they might have to deal with something, because if there's anything that tied all this together is the fact that there's a wizard that was behind Voltan the entire time. And so they venture off to further adventures. More or less the end for them.
Yep. Setting up for a sequel we'll never get.
Sign up for a sequel we'll never get, except for in comic book format, which I need to go sit down and read.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, even if they did want to make a sequel, it's like they wouldn't have any of the actors that they had in the original movie. Because
I'm afraid a lot of them are gone now.
They're either too old or dead. The guy that played Gort, the giant, actually died in '93. I think he was the one that died the soonest out of all of them after the movie.
I believe Jack Palance a couple years after that. I'm not sure about Crow.
Ray Charlson, he is actually still alive according to the IMDb.
Oh.
Yeah, he hasn't been in much. The last movie he was in 2006, and then he did a voice for Sniper Elite 4 in 2017.
Yeah.
So there's like 11-year gap there between him having roles.
Well, at least he's still doing stuff occasionally. Where do you see the...
What are you looking for?
Where do you see whether or not they passed?
If you go to their page, if they're dead, it says died under their born date.
I'm trying to find the born date.
Like if you're on the IMDb page, it's up at the top, right underneath like their picture and like trailers and stuff.
Have I just not seen it or what? So yeah, I'm looking at Pierre O'Frail, the one who played Bolden, and I'm not seeing anything.
Let me look because
Let me have a look at
him. It actually doesn't have a born date listed.
There it is. Okay, yeah, they don't have a listing for him apparently.
Yeah, he's got like an incomplete page. It seems like.
Might need some updating.
Or it's just like information they literally don't have on him, so they didn't put it. You need to point out he's like a lot of the people in this are like British actors, and he's
Yes.
IMDb is like I'm pretty sure like a U.S. website, so they might just not have access to those records if
Might just not have that info.
if it
Yeah.
hasn't been provided to them.
But no, Crow's actor is still alive. Hawk is still alive. Sadly, Bernard is not with us, so Gort couldn't be around for our sequel. And if Voltan is involved in the sequel, you don't really need to have Jack Palance. You just need somebody with a raspy voice and a lot of rot makeup.
But where do we even start to talk about this though? Because like you actually did the synopsis kind of fast, and because I guess there's not a whole lot to say about the overall story because it's just kind of
The story, yeah. Let's go break down some elements of this. Like the story is not a big how'd you do. This is not Shakespearean whatsoever. if anything, that's like baby's first D&D.
Yeah,
That'd be the best way to put it.
and
And for what it is, it's not bad.
it is also a movie from 1980. And while there were some real bangers in the 80s, there were also a lot of movies that just clearly didn't seem to have their footing yet.
That is also very true. And also, 1980, we're still getting weird stuff like Flash Gordon.
Right.
There's some odd productions still going on in 1980 that were very much more reminiscent of the 70s.
Well, so-
This in particular, what I blame on this movie in particular is that I feel like because this was made in the UK, I think there was a much lower budget mindset, almost like this was produced by the BBC or something. I don't think they had their hand in it at all, but it definitely feels like something you would have seen on Doctor Who at the time,
uh,
at least budget wise.
but yeah, that and I remember like this movie, like as far as the overall my enjoyment of it, like to me it felt like it was dragging until the rest of his party members all showed up. Then it actually
Yeah, I will
started.
say the introduction does feel like it drags a little bit, but after you get the group together, it starts to
Yeah.
go. It starts to go pretty good.
Once you have characters that can actually interact with each other, it gets a bit more entertaining. But I remember when we were the first scene where it shows Voltan's going in to kill his father. Remember, I just started cracking up when he stabbed the guard in the back because it just came out of
It's
nowhere.
such a weird noise out of him.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. He had like the weirdest random death noise where it's just like, "Urgh."
Like
You're just
nobody in this movie dies quietly.
No, like
This is a grim, dark movie, and it wants to try to be as much as they can, so everyone makes noises as they get royally messed up.
there's kind of like I guess you'd say iconic hawk screech they have like at a couple points
A
during
couple
the
times,
movie.
yeah, at the very
But-
beginning and very end.
But it seems like everybody that dies screams so loud it almost sounds like that hawk screech again. Because there were a number of guys that when they died off camera, I'm like, that was a guy? Like, that sounded like a woman screaming.
The one guy that's got his tongue removed, you never see it happen, but man, did he have quite the squeal on him.
But
Um,
so some trying to think of some things I really love. I loved the ridiculous skill of the archers in this.
oh yeah, the snapshot editing.
The snapshot editing, so they're shooting arrows like they're firing a freaking machine gun. Like that's
I got the one guy. I'm trying to remember his name. I actually have to scroll back down.
that was
Uh,
that was clearly a massive budget cutting thing because the archers, whenever there's like a big group of enemies, the archers just instantly murdered most of them, so they didn't have to do that much actual sword fighting scenes.
Yeah.
Because like Hawk almost
Um,
never had to actually fight any henchmen because the archers just killed everything.
Oh, you see him in the foreground here and there once in a while, swinging at guys. But yeah, it was definitely to help. Well, I think it was also edited that way to help with the fact that you don't want to be shooting those things into a crowd for real and
Right.
accidentally hurt somebody, especially with some of the pandemonium going on with the heavy fog and everything else. So yeah, whenever Randolph, the one-handed man, comes in with his crossbow bolt, or if Crow comes in with his bow, it just snap, 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 and you just see people dying.
That was insane.
It's wild and it's very memorable.
Then there's the kind of camaraderie over food between Gort and Baldwin.
Oh yeah, it's holy food. It'll taste the same to you.
The nun finally comes back and he goes, "Is this holy food? All food is holy. All food is holy food. It was created by God."
And then by the last scene that they have together, they're literally just going, Never mind. Split it. Split it. And quietly just nod to each other and start eating.
Um,
No need for gimmicks or bullshittery. Just yeah. Can I have some? Sure.
I remember it was so the other one of the other things is what Voltaire had a son,
Mm-hmm.
and like we were commenting on like because
We were just commenting. I wonder where he found another woman.
yeah he adopted the kid. That's why.
You adopted it from somebody else. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Because he was constantly whining about how Hawk took the woman he loved, who
Hmm.
didn't love him back to begin with. Like she never viewed him that way. He just decided he
Yeah.
was in love with her. I also I pointed this out after we finished watching because I really had a feeling from watching while we were watching that like the actors for Voltan and Hawk were nowhere near each other in age, in spite of the fact that they're supposed to be brothers.
Oh
And
yeah.
I pointed out that Voltan is only 3 years younger than the guy that's supposed to be their father,
Hmm.
his actor. I
Yep.
was like, I was like, what the hell?
It was very weird casting for ages. I will agree that that was a weird one. For casting Voltan just as being a badass I'll choose scenery. Oh, he was a perfect pick, Jack Palance.
Yeah, although I guess you could say that like because he was scarred by fire, that could be part of the excuse for why he
That could be
looks
technically
old.
part of the excuse why it looks so old. Yeah,
But the problem is, you see him before he's
you
scarred.
see him before that too, and all they did was just darken his hair.
Yeah, I don't know. That was to me like he was a good actor. Like he chewed the scenery. Like before the group of heroes kind of assembled, he was like one of the only actors that I was really feeling brought anything to any of the scenes he was in. Because
He brought Cuckoo Bananas crazy, and he does it very, very
yeah,
well because that's Jack Palance for
yeah,
you.
yeah. It didn't matter who he was interacting with; he had energy.
Oh yeah,
Whereas the guy that played Hawk just kind of
and I
stared
think
off into space until he had people to interact with.
yeah, and I think that from what I understand from behind the scenes is that Hawk in particular, because he was a newbie, took extra direction from the director, and while it worked on set, apparently it does not work well on film when it's done editing.
Yeah, he a lot of times just looked like he was staring off into space when he was supposed to be having like some sort of dramatic moment.
Or a discussion with somebody, yeah. Like, Hawk, did you lose a page or something? You need your wifey's trying to talk to you.
Yeah, it is unfortunate when the the main character is has an actor that's not like up to par with the rest of the cast.
That being said, when he was in front of Jack Palance, wow, they took off.
Yeah,
The both of them.
yeah. When he was told that he needed to be angry and vengeful, he was able to actually portray that.
Very well indeed, yes. And that could be argued as an excuse to why he's really deadpan otherwise, but he was also a little bit deadpan in the flashbacks too, so it's again hard to excuse it too much.
Um, Trying to think if there's any other story details that are really worth talking about. That
Should add it's a funny note. Did you actually catch the reference with the dwarf?
you mean the fact that he mentioned Gimli?
He mentioned the pit of Gimli. He mentioned he's from the Iron Hills, and his name is Baldwin, which is an offshoot of Baldwin, which might be one I believe is one of the dwarves. Actually, no, offshoot of Balin, who's one of the dwarves that Frodo or Bilbo ventured with.
I
So there's a
didn't-
thing.
I didn't think about the Baldwin part, but I did catch that he mentioned something about Gimli
The,
and
the, the
Iron
pit of
Hills.
Gimli and the Iron Hills. Yep. So there's minor references. This might be technically Middle Earth, but they spun it all away from it so hard that you can't really tell.
Yeah.
And also Crow mentioned the fact that his people are far, far away and calling for him.
Like
Sorry about the voice.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's Middle Earth, even if that was what they were going for. I'd say it's more that's just inspired, obviously,
Very heavily inspired by when you look at the little background details. Yeah.
especially elf archers. Elf archers being uncanny with their abilities.
Oh yeah. They shoot like machine guns, apparently.
It's like, I mean, because you just think about to some of the crazy scenes in like the Lord of the Rings movie where Gimli's like, "I've got three. I'm at 17. What?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yeah, no shit. The guy with a bow killed a bunch of orcs before they got up on the wall." But yeah, I'm trying to think what else. This is very very interesting to watch. The I had commented the music wasn't bad, but it really felt
Felt
it
strange. It
felt
felt like
out.
almost like video game music.
Yeah, it felt out of place for what was on screen a lot of the time when it was playing.
And to be fair, that seems to be a thing that happens to fantasy movies. Lady Hawk very much has the same thing kind of going for it. I'm trying to remember what the band was called, but there's an 80s band that literally does the entire music for all of the movie Lady Hawk, if you've never seen it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of their name now. They're the guys that do the Eye in the Sky.
Ah, but but
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the music in this was giving me like weird Commodore 64 vibes. Like
Welcome to the early 80s.
like it kind of reminded me like the music I would hear in the Commodore 64 game called Knights Games, where
Mm.
it's kind of like a night version of like the Olympics kind of thing. Um, I obviously enjoyed it once it got going,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was very odd movie to watch overall.
Yeah, I would agree as someone who's a fan of it. It is a slow burner to start, but once it gets cooking, it's a lot of fun to watch. Just the chaos unfold, the weird editing, the overacting, the random special, low budget special effects, and just kind of sit there and ponder for a moment how they did that. Some of the sorceresses stuff, actually, one of the stunts where she makes smoke almost hurt her. I believe she got minor burns on her hands for it. Because one of the set hands got a little too zealous with the powder that was supposed to go off.
Yeah.
Um,
The I remember we were both commenting on how weird it was in the beginning when we saw Voltan and Hawk's father, and he was standing in that chamber where there was like
well, that little pool.
there was almost like a hot tub there, but the water was like pink, and there was smoke coming out of it. I was like, that's a really weird special effect, and we're not going to get any explanation for what the fuck that was supposed to be.
Magic. Well, one's supposed to assume. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, after Voltan kidnapped the head of the what was it, the Abbey or whatever.
The abbess, yeah.
Um, the nun that was left in charge, she was a fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah.
The
Just
whole
no one could tell. Everyone, literally everyone, including the other nuns, kept telling her, just listen to the guys who are here to protect us. Wouldn't listen and backstabbed them and got herself killed for it.
not only that, like even her logic, he's like, he can't break his word. God will protect us. Then how did he already get? If God's protecting you and you're magically protected, like how did he grab the abbess? Like,
And he'd been struck down by lightning the minute he got outside.
like they pointed that out to her, and she's just like, nonsense.
How dare you?
Blasphemy. Reality doesn't care whether or not it's blasphemy. Yeah, she got herself and other people killed.
Yeah.
'Cause she technically got herself and Baldwin killed.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it does look like that cover has been around since the VHSs. That was a very fancy cover and looks a little more epic than the actual movie.
Yeah,
But then again, that's a typical thing for fantasy films in the 80s, I suppose.
yeah, 'cause that's some really high quality art for what the movie actually ended up being. Um, I think that's really all we have to say. There's not like the movie that you have the most to say about.
It's not an epic movie, but it's a worthwhile little fantasy flick. If you want something to burn an hour and a half of time, there are far worse movies to be watching. And it's got its very fun moments, especially Mr. Pounce's overacting and shouting out his son's name as he's dying. Drago! It's one of the few things I can do with my voice right now that I can do it right.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely. I didn't know what to expect going in, but I give it a thumbs up at least after like maybe the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, give it its time to cook. You'll get all the background information you need, and then it finally goes into decent character moments and interesting action sequences. Oh, and some assholes getting their comeuppance real fast.
Yeah. So until next time, everybody, have a good one.
And